I wasn't going to do a video about the pagan aspects that have been incorporated into the Christmas season because others have covered it and I didn't want to put a damper on people's celebrations. I'm also celebrating Christ with my family. So I apologize upfront for putting out a dark, creepy Christmas-related video, but when I feel compelled, I assume that I'm being nudged for some reason. And I got out of the business of trying to please everyone a while back. So I've decided to cover this because of all the Antichrist type rituals that are being pushed by the powers in this Christmas season. The UAP stuff, the Notre Dame Cathedral reopening with all the Phoenix Rising, the Pope opening portals in the Vatican. So in this video, I'm going to cover a Finnish movie titled Rare Exports, A Christmas Tale, which is a take on the secret behind Santa Claus. Released in 2010, it's described as fantasy horror black comedy, and it's about reindeer trappers living in the North Finland on the border of Russia and Finland, referred to as Lapland, up near the North Pole, way up here in the north, so very Nordic. The plot is an American and British research team in that area drilling in an ancient burial mound, and what they're really looking for is Satan, who, according to legends, was buried in the mound long ago by the Sami people. The main protagonist in the movie is a boy, Piotr, who is the one who discovers what the research team is doing and who Santa Claus really is, which is like this Krampus character with horns, so he's a horned god. And Piotr says in the movie, the real Santa is totally different. The Coca-Cola Santa is just a hoax. Eventually they uncover this figure, Satan type figure, on December 24th. And this also releases his helpers, which are elves. And if you watch this channel, you're familiar with the crypto-terrestrial connotation of elves, which I'm not going to go into in this video, but it's deep. So afterwards, they train the captured elves to become small Santas, and they export them to cities around the world, hence the title Rare Exports. So this definitely speaks to the commercialization aspect of Christmas, where you have Santa who was caricatured to be this jolly Coca-Cola Santa that we have today in the West. And in this movie, the boy does not want December 24th to come. He keeps taping up and stapling up the door to the 24th on the tree that has the doors counting down the days of Christmas. But there's a much deeper element incorporated into the plot of this movie, which I didn't realize until I watched this video by Rise channel. And it has to do with Mithraism, and we already know that December 25th is the date attributed to the birth of Mithras. So at the beginning of the movie, Piotr's father, who is a reindeer trapper, is butchering a pig, which it seemed kind of out of place to me for the movie. It was just kind of shoved into the plot, but in a really significant way they made it, and the father says it's his work, and it was pretty gory and creepy. But I'm going to play this video by Rise now that is correlated to that.
So King Antiochus Epiphanes launched a massive campaign of repression against the Jewish religion in 168. So there was a revolt, a rebellion against this. Antiochus IV Epiphanes, the king of Syria, captured Jerusalem in 167 BC and desecrated the temple by offering the sacrifice of a pig on an altar to Zeus, in brackets, the abomination of desolation. In seeking to prohibit Judaism and Hellenize the Jews, mix them with Greek paganism and all that kind of thing, Antiochus forbade their religious practices and commanded that copies of the law be burned, all of which is related by Josephus in Antiquities of the Jews. The reason he chose that name is because Epiphanes means God manifest, which is just like another example or typology of that the Antichrist will claim to be God. So it's one of those types, one of those typologies in my view. So Epiphanes meaning God manifest or the glorious illustrious. And this is him, Antiochus Epiphanes. So he was a Greek Hellenistic king, 175 BC to 164 BC. So it was a couple of hundred years, just 164 years before Christ. He assumed the name Antiochus after he ascended the throne. His accession to the throne was controversial and he was seen as a usurper by some. And what he did was he sacrificed a pig on the altar in Jerusalem. The Greek king Antiochus IV Epiphanes, after the Greeks conquered Jerusalem, Antiochus had a statue of Zeus built in the second temple, possibly in the Kodesh HaKodashim, i.e. the Holy of Holies, the holy sanctuary chamber in the back, and he sacrificed a pig on the altar, and there's a picture of it there. I guess, you know, an unclean animal. There's the picture of the pig on the altar in the temple. So he desecrated it, just like it says in the book of Daniel. Obviously placing a monument of a foreign god inside their temple and using its altar of incense to sacrifice an unclean animal was considered a terrible affront. But Antiochus did not stop there. He actively sought to impose Greek polytheism on the Jews and persecuted anyone who refused to assimilate into Greek culture, that forbidden mix of pagan culture. And then this is how they responded.
So King Antiochus Epiphanes captured Jerusalem in 167 BC and desecrated the temple by offering the sacrifice of a pig on an altar to Zeus, therefore incorporating pagan and foreign god worship. And this was during the winter season, which is why Hanukkah is celebrated at this time. So this is a typology of the Antichrist, placing a monument of a foreign god inside the temple in Jerusalem and then slaughtering the pig. And this slaughtering of the pig in the movie Rare Exports, which I didn't want to show that part because it was very gross, but it has to be a definite reference to the incorporation of pagan gods into the Christmas season and the story of Antiochus, given the theme of that movie. And Antiochus was a Greek Hellenistic king, but he was Persian, Iranian, and he was originally named Mithridates. And Mithridates is the Hellenistic form of an Iranian name meaning given by Mithra. And Mithra's birth date is said to be December 25th. And Mithra is an ancient Iranian deity of covenants, light, oaths, justice, the sun, and contracts. So he's just another sun god or Apollo or Lucifer archetype, Mithra is. So how did I correlate this paganism being incorporated into this Christmas season with regards to the current events of this Christmas season? Well, since Pope Francis is going to be using his keys to open portals at the Vatican, including at the tomb of Lucifer, I keep thinking about the Blade movies where the ancient vampire Damaskinos was dug out of a ziggurat in Iran in the Syrian desert, because they clue us so much in movies. And Damascus is also in the current news, warring with Israel, right? But in the Blade movie, Damaskinos, the vampire, walks into this keyhole-shaped bloodbath, which is shaped exactly like the Vatican Square. And in the background is the infamous Mithraic relief, which you can't see very well in this image, but trust me, that's what it is. It's the Mithras relief. And when he goes in, he says, "Recognize this?" speaking directly to the audience. And that stuck with me. And that's not to say that their evil plans will amount to anything, since God is in control, but I think it definitely speaks to their plans. Thanks for listening.